tomorrow morning, I will be getting the trailer on the truck to see if I can get it out there to haul the calves out to the veterinarian to get their vaccinations done. Half the animals need to get the booster, half the animals need to get the primer. And on Saturday morning, so tomorrow will be Friday, and then on Saturday morning, I will be getting the animals to the sale barn for the sale on Monday. I am looking to reinvest the capital on Monday. With everything going on, these calves are definitely putting on a lot of weight. I took a look at them this morning, and yeah, they're real heavy. My expenses are going to be collapsing. I can tell over the next about 30, 45 days. For the next 30 to 45 days, my expenses will be collapsing and my earnings will be skyrocketing. And my whole thing about the cattle business and with making money in the cattle business is that if I were to put a graph of grass biomass accumulation, and granted that the biomass accumulation was somewhat decent, okay, the grass would have to be somewhere between 60 and 70% TDN, and somewhere between 10 and 14% protein. As long as the grass is somewhere between 60 and 70% TDN and 10 to 14% protein, I can supplement it with just a little bit of grain and put on a lot of weight on the animals for a very low cost. For me to grow all this grass, I mean, like I take a look at my animals and I'm taking a look at it and I'm like, well, I probably will use about a half a load of grain and about a 1 tonnage of fertilizer. And so for me to raise these animals for the next and they've already been on it for about 2 weeks, and so right, I mean, if we're talking about the next 45 days, that's effectively 2 months. I mean, for the for 2 months my expenses are going to be like 2 grand. Okay, it's going to be about $1,000 a month. That's what my expenses are, and my animals are going to effectively be on a buffet 24/7. All right, for the next effectively uh probably about 45 days. I do reasonably anticipate that by about January, it will get cold. It will get cold enough to where the grass will stop growing and or die, and then the grass will have to start revegetating. Oh, and so yeah, and I figured something I could talk about, something kind of interesting, because this whole thing about the 20% return, all right, and how if this idea of conceptualizing the 20% return. And when I talk about this, and well, I mean, I had now that I think about it, I had a few things I was going to talk about, and I figured out, well, okay, well, I'll talk about this 20% thing first. This idea of the 20% return, right? And when you think about it in terms of the scale of difficulty of actually doing this, effectively, in terms of capital allocation, there's only one person that really did it, and that's Warren Buffett. Okay, in terms of making tremendous sums of money and just making tremendous sums of money and scaling a 20% return even with large sums of money. And so, to conceptually understand this, I figured this is a good way to look at it. So let's say that you got a business, right? And me, I don't invest in other businesses. I will when I have money left over. And my whole thing about in terms of businesses, one business that Warren Buffett recently bought, that when I take a look at it, I'm like, this was a very, very good idea, is UNH, United Health. Oh, that business is trading at like 17 P&E, and the stock tanked because the CEO was assassinated. The CEO got shot in the back of the head. It was that guy, right? I mean, that CEO that was assassinated out in public, and the stock tanked when that happened, like 50%. And when I take a look at it, I'm like, United Health is a major insurance company. Nothing really happened to the business other than the CEO was assassinated, which is a horrible thing. Okay, We really don't want to live in a world where poor people think it's rich people's problem. We really do not. We not like because it's objectively false. Rich people are not the reason why poor people exist. Okay, and poor people are not why the rich people exist. Like the whole thing about being poor is like if you're poor right now, you don't have to be poor. Okay, and I'm not saying this to be like a doofus about it. I'm being completely serious about it. If you're poor, you could be broke right now. All right. And a lot of people, the reason, and I talked about the idea of being poor, and it's like when you have an idea that's poor, or when you have a person that's poor, usually it's almost like they have Stockholm syndrome. It's like for some people find it amusing to be poor. Let's be serious about this. Like, right? Let's discuss the idea of being poor. Some people think it's amusing to be poor, right? And there are a lot of ways to be amused being poor. Like you legitimately think it's amusing to be poor. One way is to buy yourself effectively a house that you can't afford. That's a very reasonable thing that a lot of people. It's like a lot of people don't even really want a house. I can almost guarantee it. Like if you actually took a look at into buying a house and you actually bought a house, there's a very legitimate possibility that it's not going to turn out into a magical journey. Okay, what's another way to do it? A car that you can't afford. That's a very reasonable way to do it. And another way, the one that I discussed, the one that I recently saw was, why would I be, why would I be poor? Why would I be broke if I can be poor? Right. That's the whole thing. And all of these, some people, it's like a lot of people actually think it's amusing to be poor. All right. A lot of people do like if we legitimately think about the idea of being poor. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, and if you hang around poor people, and if you surround yourself with poor people, you are going to end up poor. All right, that's effectively how it's going. That's effectively the number one way that you could end up poor is by hanging out with poor people and thinking it's amusing to be poor. You effectively kick yourself in the dick your entire life and you habitually do it, and so there's effectively nothing that can be done about it. All right, and when it comes down to it, you could be broke right now, and if you're broke it's not that big of a deal because you can always make money, and making money is very easy. All right, if you spend less than you make and you invest the difference and you do that over a long period of time, your margin will increase simply because the money that you are investing is going into an equitable asset and producing you a return. Okay, you don't want to end up in a situation where you're poor and you think that it's something that happened to you because it's just some awful thing, and you're not poor because there are rich people, and rich people did not steal from the poor to become rich. Okay, that's not that's don't when you take a look at people, right? Don't look at the worst people. All right, because I can go and say all poor, like I could legitimately sit here right now and instead of saying instead of saying what I'm saying right now, I could start saying stuff like poor people are the scum of the earth, right? And if I started saying stuff like that, that wouldn't be a good thing to say either, right? That wouldn't be, and I mean, whatever. I mean, and not a good. I'm not gonna say it's not a good thing to say. It wouldn't be objectively true, right? Like if I sat here and I said poor people are the scum of the earth, and I and then that's just like poor people saying rich people are the scum of the earth. Okay, we're all just people, poor people, rich people. It's all people, and if you're poor right now, you could easily become broke immediately. All right, and you could work towards doing well for yourself starting immediately if you felt like it. Okay, if all you did was systematically, like, because me, when I make money, right, and I talk about the idea of making money via capital allocation, right, and the idea of Warren Buffett and how I do it, Warren Buffett really understands this idea as well. And so in terms of a stock, let's say that you have a business and you found this business and it's trading at $100, and that stock falls to $50. Let's say that the CEO was assassinated and the stock fell from $100 to $50. And you take a look at this and you say, well, that's horrible, right? The CEO was assassinated. That's not good. That's horrible. But in terms of the business, nothing has changed about the business, okay? Nothing has changed about the business. The CEO was assassinated. It's very unfortunate and it's horrible that it happened. But when you look at the business, it's now trading, it's now selling for $50, and the P&E ratio fell from 31 to 17. And so you're taking a look at this business and you say, well, I'm going to buy this stock at $50 because it's still a fundamentally a good business. All right, it's still just a decent. Now I'm not sure what United Health is. I think United Health is trading for like 325 right now, or it was trading at like 325 350, and it fell to like I don't know, but let's just use this. It fell a lot. It fell like 50%, like 175 or something, and 225 or something. I'm not exactly sure what the price fell from, but it did fall a lot. It's like 50%, and the P&E ratio right now is sitting at about 17 when it was sitting at about 30. And so let's say you're taking a look at the stock, and the stock has fallen from 100 to $50. It's fallen from $100 down to $50. And so you take a look at it and you say, well, this stock is trading for $50 and it's still fundamentally a good company. I understand an insurance company. An insurance company is very easy to understand, right? Insurance companies are not difficult to understand, okay? They effectively pay for a policy, and when you go to the doctor, you can use your insurance, right? And so you got this insurance company, and I'm not talking about morality behind the business. Okay, I'm not talking about don't get your panties in a wad, right? I always say don't get your panties in a wad. Okay, don't look at the world through everybody is a horrible person. Okay, you know, a lot of people are just idiots. Okay, a lot of people are not good people. A lot of people are not bad people. A lot of people are in actuality just an idiot. Okay, they've habitually developed a lot of problems, and effectively nothing can be done about it, and it's kind of sad. All right, that's what's happening with most people. Okay, and so this is also why I say hang around the best people that you know, because the best people that you can find, not that you know. Nobody knows me. All right, I don't don't whatever. I don't want to meet any of you. I guarantee it. I'm perfectly fine on my own. All right. If I had nothing, I just redo everything. I'm not a horrible person. I didn't steal anything from anybody. I didn't do some malicious thing to make money. Okay. I run beef cattle. And so let's say you got a stock, and this stock fell from $100 to $50. And so you say, well, and just to let's just remove the idea of the insurance company, because this could be any company that you agree with. Okay. If you take a look at a company and you say, well, this is something I could get behind, and this is a good company, and I believe in their product, and I believe that they are going to make they will have increasing revenue in the future. The revenue will drastically increase in the future. So you take a look at this company, right? And it's trading at $50, and it fell from $100 because something horrible happened, but it didn't fundamentally change the business. So you buy this business at $50, and turns out you were right. The company goes back up to $100 over the next, uh, let's say, 5 years. So it goes up to $100 over the next 5 years. You would have made a 20% return on your money, right? Because you bought it at 50, and it doubled in value over the next 5 years. Okay, but let's say that stock goes from 100 to let's say that it goes from 100 to $110. Let's say that you accurately predicted that the revenue of the company would actually go up, and so that stock goes from 100 to 110. If you had bought that stock at $110, that stock would have made you a 10% return. But if you bought that stock at $50, you would have made a 20% return on that 10% increase in price. And this is also what is the idea of just holding on to an investment. You're really looking for something that you can hold on to forever. This is something that I discuss as well. Like me, when I invest into assets, I'm looking for assets that are worth money forever. Okay, I'm not looking for the next big thing. I'm not looking for whatever. I'm looking for something that I logically understand, that I believe that I can make a positive return on. Because me, I don't invest. I do invest into my own business. All right, Warren Buffett. The big idea with Warren Buffett is that he invests in other businesses, and this whole idea of investing in other businesses, right? Oh, I may invest in the S&P 500. We'll have to see. But this, like, in the S&P 500, it's the exact same thing. If you bought the S&P 500, if it, and which I'm not saying you should put all your money in at the same time. Okay, you know you probably shouldn't. But let's say that well, I mean, let's say theoretical situation. Let's say you bought the S&P 500 today, and you put all the money that you could put into it over the next 5 years, and you put $2,000 a month into the S&P 500 over the next 5 years, and the price went down a couple percent, and you just kept putting money into it, and then it started going up. It's all the same thing, okay? The whole $100 to $50, it doesn't matter what stock you buy, okay? And my whole thing is like, if you are going to be your own failsafe, if you are going to buy individual businesses, you are going to end up being your own failsafe, okay? You will end up becoming your own failsafe. And if you don't know what you're doing, all right, you know your failsafe may end up being bankruptcy, and you don't want to end up in a situation like that, okay? The whole idea is to compound your earnings over a long period of time, utilizing using a stable asset. Okay, it's not about finding the next big thing. It's not about whatever. It's not impossible. It's not about finding the next big thing. It's nothing like that. All right. So the big idea is if it fell to 50 and then it went to 100, you would have made, and it took 5 years for that to happen. You would have made a 20% return on your money. But if that stock goes from 100 to 110, it's not a 10% increase for you, it is a 20% increase. It's an extra 20% for you. And so you compound this out over the long term. And let's say that you have a company like Coca Cola and you bought a majority of your stock, right? Coca Cola was trading at like $5 to $10 for I don't even know how long, all right, decades. And so let's say that you didn't get discouraged, okay? Coca Cola was trading at very, I don't even know, okay? But the whole idea is to, in when you have a good asset, right? Like this is something that I discuss as well, and I discussed this recently when the cattle market tanked, right? The cattle market dropped 20% in like a week, and I said, the cattle market's not going to zero, right? This is something that's very important to understand. The cattle market is not going to zero. If the cattle market ever goes to zero, I will go to the sale barn and pick up every single animal at the sale barn. All right, because every animal will be free, and so I might as well just pick up every animal that I can because it doesn't make sense. If gold was free, gold and cattle are in the same segment of the economy. If gold went to zero, I would go and pick up every piece of gold that I could get my hands on. If a business went to zero, I wouldn't touch. If the business went to zero, I wouldn't touch that business with a 10-foot pole. All right. The whole idea of like saving a business is just, it's not a, if it's a fundamentally a good business and the business just went, the stock price went down, that's something completely different. If the business went to zero, I wouldn't touch a business with a 10-foot pole. If cattle went to zero, I would go and find every single animal that I could find and take the animal. Okay. If gold went to zero, I would go and find every single piece of gold that I could find and just collect all the gold. Okay. And so that's the big idea. And that's also the idea of compounding. Okay. And so that's effectively how the 20% happens. You're really looking for something that you can buy today and hold on to forever. All right. And that's also with the S&P 500, is that if you bought it right now, let's say that the S&P 500 was trading at $100. Let's say it was just whatever stock it is that you're looking to buy, and you bought it today, and you held on to it for the next 40 years. And let's say that the stock, let's say that you held on to it for the next 10 years. Okay? Let's say that the stock went sideways or whatever, and let's just say that you held on to it for the next 10 years. And over the next 10 years, let's say that the stock, let's say that you held on to it for 7 years. Let's say that you held on to it for 7 years, 10 years, however many years you would like, and the stock doubled in price. So the stock doubled in price, and it was when you bought it, it was 100, but now it's at 200, right? and now that 200, let's say that it goes up by another 10%. If that 10 if that if you bought it at 200, and let's say that your dollar cost average was 150, so the stock went from 100 to 200, and your average purchase price for the stock was $150, and now the stock is at 200, and that stock goes from 200 to 220. It would be a 10% gain on the stock, but on your investment it would be about 12.5%. It would be about 14%. All right. So you would, if you just held on to it long enough, you would effectively out earn the market average. Okay, if you just held on to it long enough, you would effectively out earn the entire. You would out earn the overall market average. If all you did was hold on to the S&P 500 forever, and you just kept buying it forever, you would effectively ultimately end up in a situation. Granted that, right, I've spoken about America and the American business system. The American system is an incredible system. It's not perfect, but there is no such thing as a perfect system. I full on believe in the American system. Okay, if America produced tremendous, tremendous, tremendously great things for the entire world, and we probably will continue to do so. Like when you take a look at it, I mean, we don't even have antiviral medications yet. Okay, that's something that will probably happen in the near future. I mean, there are a lot of things that can happen. All right, artificial organs probably will happen. Genetic modification probably will be. Right now we got it in crops and things like that. It will become more whatever. Robotics will become more. Robotics will become more prevalent. Okay, and so, no, I mean, but theoretically, I and not, well, I mean, right now is not a good time to say theoretically. I believe that the American system will produce tremendous improvements over the next few decades. Will continue to produce tremendous improvements over the next several decades. Okay, over the next many decades, over the over the long course of time, America will produce tremendously great things for all of humanity. And so a lot of the things that and if the whole thing about it is like a lot of this stuff is complete BS, and a lot of the stuff that people go through on a daily basis. I'm not saying that your problems are BS. It's just, right. I mean, if you think about it in terms of, if the water got cut off, right? I mean, what would actually be important to you, right? I mean, because people would be going nuts. I mean, it would be completely different. I mean, there are the whole thing about like if you think the world is unfair and things like that. I mean, if you legitimately think that the world is unfair, I mean, which it is. I mean, I mean, what do you want? I mean, do you want to? I mean, what do you? I mean, what do you want? I mean, the world is unfair. Okay, I mean, it just is what it is. But you're not poor because of rich people, and rich people are not poor because or rich people are not rich because of poor people. Okay, they didn't like predate on poor people. Poor people did not become poor because of rich people. Rich people did not become poor, or rich people did not become rich because of poor people. Okay, it's all just people. And don't look at the worst rich people that you can find. Okay, don't look at the worst rich people that you could possibly imagine and think that that's what rich people are. Okay, there are plenty of rich people that's just like, well, I bought this company because it was a good company and I held on to the thing forever, and it turns out I made about a 20% return on my money, and now I have, right, and I now I have billions of dollars. Okay, I mean, there are people that do good things for the world. Okay, there are a lot of things that have happened in the past decades that have just absolutely improved the quality of the human life, and we will probably continue towards that trajectory. That's the big idea. Okay, we should really work towards that. And my whole thing is like, once you get your financial situated, once you this whole idea of invest your margin, right, systematically, like make absolute sure when you take a look at your financial situation, make absolute sure that you're making more money than you spend. Okay, because this is the idea of a fundamental idea. If you make more money than you spend and you invest your margin, you fundamentally cannot enter financial hot water. It would be impossible for you to enter financial hot water if you are spending less than you make and you are investing your margin. It would be impossible. It's fundamentally not possible for you to enter financial hot water. And theoretically, if we are going to like talk about theoretic stuff, if you bought the S&P 500 today and that was all you bought for the next 50 years, let's say that you got to live to be an old man. Let's say that we all got to live to be old people, and which would be great. I would love to live an old life. I would live to be an old man. I would love to live to be an old man. That'd be fantastic. And so let's say that you bought into the S&P 500 for the next 50 years and you bought into it every month. If you just held on to that, you would technically out earn the market average simply because of the compounding effect. And you would have right. I mean, you would have effectively purchased the price of the stock when it was about your average cost of the stock would have been about would have been less than what it is at that moment. So right, that's the idea of compounding. That's the idea of looking for an investment that you can reasonably understand will be worth money, will be a good company for the long foreseeable future. That's what you're looking for. And then you're just looking to hold on to that investment forever, okay? The S&P 500 is a great example of this. And if you do that, technically, technically like if you lived like if we enter a situation like where people legitimately live to be like 200 years old, like if we legitimately enter a situation where people live to be 150 years old, if that happens in the next 50 years, and you started buying the S&P 500 today, and you were under the age of 40, and you compounded the S&P 500 for the next 120 years, 110 years, technically you would probably end up with more than a 20% return on your money. All right, just by buying the S&P 500, you would have just granted that but who knows? Warren Buffett may live to be 150, right? I don't know. Nobody knows, but I mean the man is he did say that it seems like time is catching up to him. So right but I mean who knows, right? In 50 years, in 40 years, people may live to be 150. I don't know, right? I mean, who knows, right? And if you live to be 150 and you started buying the S&P 500 today, right? And you're under 40, you're 35 years old, that gives you 115 years to compound your investment. And technically, if that was all you did, I mean, technically, even then, you would probably averaged over 20% return a year. You probably would have, okay? Just because of the compounding effect, and your average cost would have been lower than what the price of the investment is in the future, more than likely. We are likely going to see very 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 large increases in the quality of human life. That's the whole big idea. We should look to go towards a direction where the average life of the average quality life for all people improves over time. Okay, we don't want to enter like some totalitarian communist cesspool. All right, we don't. That's not going to do anything for anybody. That's just going to turn the world into just a massive mess. Okay, that's not the solution. All right, and so right, but that's the big idea. Okay, invest your money. All right, if you don't invest, and you're not going to make it. All right, that's effectively how it what it boils down to. Oh yeah, and the thing that I discussed was in terms of I've always the whole thing about it is invest your margin. And how do I know, like me, when it comes to my life and I took a look at it, how did I when was it that I legitimately just decided like my financials are in very 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 good very just good in a very good situation? Like how did I decide this, right? Well, how the way that I decided it is that when I realized that I was making enough money in my sleep to cover all of my expenses for the day. That's when I realized. Okay. And right now I make about 12 about $1,400 a day. I do make about $1,400 a day, and I make that money 7 days a week. I make that money even when I'm sleeping. and I do reasonably believe that I can increase that amount of money to about $7,000 a day. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on increasing my earnings from $1,400 a day to about $7,000 a day. That's the big idea. I believe that I can do it. Uh, and one thing I was looking to discuss. I'll discuss this real fast. I'll call it a day. Is that me when I didn't have near the amount of just money that I have right now. At one point, about a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I was making about $3,500 a month. Okay, and right now I make about 12 times that amount. I do make probably just over $40,000 a month here very soon. When I reinvest the capital next week, I will see what happens, and the rubber will hit the road, and I will figure out exactly where my more my income is at. And so let's just say I increase my income by 10 times over, by 1,000%. Me when I didn't have near the amount of money that I had, or when I didn't have near the amount of money that I have now. No, I thought that like me when I was like, man, well, when I make money, one day I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do all this cool stuff, right? I'm gonna go and do all this cool stuff. I'm gonna buy myself whatever it is. But one thing that I realized about just becoming rich is that it's like the doing well with, like legitimately very well with money. I do very well with money. The thing about my situation is that if I had nothing, I could redo it all again. And there's a very legitimate possibility that I end up making something like even right now I make about $1,400 a day, and that's going up very quickly. And it's kind of like this like on it's like almost like this thing where it's I can effectively buy anything on the entire planet. I can effectively buy anything, but the amount of impact that I can make on the world is almost like cosmically like a like the it's almost like looking at things from a cosmic scale. The things that I can actually do to just I guess reach out and like legitimately help the average person, because giving money to an idiot is not going to do anything. If you give money to an idiot, you could legitimately end up ruining their life. Okay, if you give money to an idiot, you could legitimately end up ruining their life. Next thing you know, they're at the casino. Okay, next thing you know, they're doing drugs. Next thing you know, they're drinking all the time. Giving money to an idiot is not going to help. How do I legitimately help people? Is one of these things that it's almost seems like it puts things into realistic perspective for me, because it's like I have all of this money. I make such a tremendous sum of money. The amount of money that I'm making is going upwards very quickly. And it turns out I don't even want to buy anything. The thing about me, I legitimately I'm not even looking to buy anything. I will be using the money, okay? I figured, well, if I have all this money, then it is my duty. It is my responsibility as a decent person to do something with this, instead of just just not doing anything my entire life and just whatever, right? Like I have I do feel like this moral obligation to do something with it, and so I am looking to utilize the capital, and I will be utilizing the capital somewhere around March or April of next year. Here in about 3 or 4 months, I will be utilizing the capital. I will probably use uh just over $1 million. That's what I'll be looking into investing. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. It's like I can buy anything. I can effectively buy anything on the entire planet, but I don't even everything because here's the thing. Like all this stuff, like legitimately, once you start making about $90,000 a year, once you start making about $80,000 a year, and you have some kind of a reasonable head on your shoulders, like you have a reasonable way of going through this stuff, I mean, it eventually turns into this thing where you can effectively buy anything on the entire planet. You can. For about $80,000 a year, you can effectively buy anything on the entire planet, granted that you're not an idiot. If you invest a portion of it and et cetera, et cetera. And I've already bought everything that I like. I'm not looking to. I don't have any desire to buy any more guns. I don't have any desire to whatever. I will be buying myself a bigger house. I'll be buying myself a house. I live in a trailer right now. I'll be buying myself a house. I figured a house is an equitable asset. It's not a great investment, but it's equitable. And yeah, and I'll be buying myself a bigger truck simply because I feel like I will be able to make more money with a bigger truck, and et cetera, et cetera. I will be utilizing the capital that I make simply because I feel like I have some kind of a moral responsibility to do so. I'm not going to use the capital to flex on people.